your world is about to be just completely devastated and he's like happy about it. Hey guys, it's Nikki. Today I'm doing a book review of The Shadows by Alex North. This is the author of The Whisper Man. I did read that book in 2019 and I did enjoy it. Even though horror is not one of my regular genres, I am not a big horror fan. It's just not something that I tend to read a whole lot of. But I think the reason that I am kind of pulled into these Alex North novels is because they kind of have this crime thriller mystery suspense element to them. So they're kind of like a mashup of different genres all in one. In The Shadows, there is a dual timeline. So you have things that happen in the past, and then you have the present day timeline, things that are happening in the present day that are bringing back the past. So in the past timeline, you have kind of this group of boys who are kind of friends, but kind of not really. They just all come together for this kind of common theme. And the ringleader of the group is this kid named Charlie Crabtree. Well, Charlie Crabtree is one creepy ass little kid. I'm gonna tell you right now, anytime Charlie Crabtree was a part of a scene in this book, I was legit creeped out. So he's kind of like almost this sociopathic kid who he's got like this gory, like macabre demeanor, I guess. What makes it even more creepy is that he's just really calm and controlled, and that he just looks at you with this knowing smile, like he already knows something that you don't know. It's like he's looking at you like he knows that your world is about to be just completely devastated and he's like happy about it, but he's just gonna bide his time and wait for the shit to hit the fan, I guess. The main character actually in the story is Paul Adams. Paul in the past is one of the kids that kind of gets roped into this group, but he's kind of the naysayer of the group, where he just really doesn't know that he wants to be involved. At some point, he kind of decides like, this maybe is not gonna be my thing. Like, I think you guys are completely nuts and I'm just gonna like remove myself from this situation. Like, you do you, and I'll come over here and do me. I had kind of some mixed feelings about this because he had a friend in the group that unfortunately chose the group instead of pulling out of the group like Paul did. The story kind of starts out, you already know that somebody gets murdered, but you don't know who gets murdered. You kind of have this idea, but it doesn't actually come out and say it until kind of later on in the book. You automatically get a sense that Paul is one of the number one suspects for the murder. You also kind of get a sense that he didn't actually do it. There's just so much going on, especially in the past. And then you get the present day time frames. The timeline in the present day where you have a little bit of Paul Adams' perspective, and then you have a separate point of view of a detective who is investigating some copycat murders that are happening around the same area that the original murder happened in. She ends up meeting Paul and, you know, as a part of her investigation is talking to him, and things are happening in the present day where people who were a part of that past timeline are still alive in the present day, but they're slowly being picked off like one by one in these horribly gruesome, super graphic kind of ways. Trigger warning, I guess, if that's something that you're not able to handle. They are very graphic. This is a very graphic book. I think that is part of what kind of draws me in because it just makes it seem more realistic. It's just very gruesome. So back to Amanda Beck. It's definitely written in a way that you like both of the point of view characters. You like Paul, you like the detective Amanda. So one of the things that I really thought was done well in this story is that you could hear the sounds, you could see the sights. It talked about the shadows, which was the woods that were kind of outside of Paul's house that these kids would meet in. That's where this creepy guy with the red hands and the no face, I guess, lived. And it talks about how when Paul was inside the woods, how it felt like the woods were moving around him. Like he could stand still out and the things around him were moving as if he didn't actually have to move towards something. It was like it was moving towards him. It was that extra kind of layer of just creepiness. It just made it very eerie, and I was, again, legitimately creeped out throughout a lot of this book. So I got this book from Book of the Month for July 2020, but I also was provided with a review copy of the audiobook from the publisher through NetGalley. So I was able to listen to the audio as I read. It made it very immersive, so I think that may have kind of kicked the creep factor up a few notches for me, but I thought the audiobook was done really well. I thought both the male and the female narrators for this story did a really fantastic job of the narration. So if you like crime fiction and you're kind of on the fence about this one, I would say give it a try. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, but really I would say more of like 4.5. A+ for the creep factor, A+ for the backstory. The characters, there were a lot of creepy characters. You have Paul's mother, who in the present time frame was on her deathbed and she's dying in hospice, and she's in this kind of dementia-induced stupor, and she's just rambling all this just creepy shit. And there's just a lot going on. There's like voodoo dolls turning up from when he was a kid that he hadn't seen in 25 years. And you have both Paul and Detective Beck at one point or another would repeat that they walk in somewhere and they just have this distinct feeling that they're being watched. And there's just so many things in this book that just totally legitimately creeped me out that I could not, once it got dark out, I had to put it down. I could not continue reading once it got dark. So maybe not a book to read at bedtime, but definitely one to read over a long weekend. That is it for my review. Let me know if you guys plan to read this story or not, and if you have read it, what was the most creepiest thing about this book? Let me know down in the comments, and subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. We'll see you in the next video.